What's going on, everybody? You're listening to 91.3 FM WTSR at the College of New Jersey, and this is the weekly Smash Wrap. We bring you stories from the underground world of Smash Ultimate here at TCNJ, throughout New Jersey, and the world. I'm Oscar Rothman69, and this is...
Casey. Listen, Owen, we have another great episode, but this time, for the first time in a long time, it's just us two in the studio,
Just
all right?
us.
We've been having special guests, but you know what? The special guests today are just us, just me and you, Owen. So
That's right.
we're going to be having a very interesting episode this week. Do you want to tell them what we're going to be doing today?
I would love to tell them what we're doing today. So we've had a couple interesting guests on so far. We had James Scott, and I'm
The
still
GOAT.
reeling from that we had him on. We had Brian on last week. You know, okay guest.
Screw you, Brian. Bah!
But we've loved having the special guests on, but as the semester winds down, we thought we'd take it back a step, go back to basics for one episode, and just chill out and talk just as us two co-hosts.
Yes, sir. Just a really just chill conversation. We're going to talk about each other. You're going to learn about the hosts of the show. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
I would love to. What we're going to do today is we're each going to take turns interviewing each other. So the feature we normally do for our special guests, we're going to give to each other. And then once we're done talking about ourselves, we're going to pivot to some Scarlet Classic 10, a big tournament at the pre-local of which James Scott might have gotten his first ever W.
Yes, sir.
Well, he also played Tweak. And then and then after that, we're going to talk about the last Bronx Barrel Blast of the semester.
It's going to be good. But we're going to start off with me talking to you, Owen, a.k.a. Oscar Wilde fan.
That's
So,
me.
as we know, you got into Smash at the beginning of college in terms of like on a competitive level after you were challenged by Shineburst and his Pocket Daisy at a random hangout in what hall was it?
This was in Centennial Hall.
Centennial.
This was in the AC lounge. This is the only air-conditioned room in the building, and we'd all like huddled in there just to get away from the heat and not be on the floor dying.
Centennial's a real like deep cut freshman hall too. That's like the
Oh my
least
God.
populated one, I feel like.
It's
Or at least the one with the
definitely
least
backwoods.
motion.
The least
Respectfully.
motion for sure.
I literally lived in Traverse freshman year. It's like the worst dorm ever.
Travers is a nightmare, dude. I don't know
Yeah.
how people survive in Travers.
I don't know how I did. I'll tell you that. But I wanted to ask you, what did you do before Smash?
Before Smash, so I actually played a little bit in high school too.
Okay.
I went to Rowan tournaments, but
Oh,
before
really?
that, yeah, I did. But I didn't really talk to a lot of people there. I was kind of I came 102
Makes
and
sense.
left. But I was a runner before Smash, and I really liked running, and I really liked my running friends. But I got the sense that I didn't really fit in with them that well. We were friendly,
Oh.
but I just had interests that didn't really line up with theirs, and so I was kind of looking for a new thing to get into. And then
They're all trash. No, I'm kidding. No, we love the running community out here.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a running community at TCNJ, actually. I know you, EO, and Venture actually did a 5K
we did.
last year, I believe. So that was a really cool moment.
Yeah, the Mercer County 5K. We
Mm-hmm.
went to this random park. It was Veterans Park, I think, in Mercer County. And I got there late. And it was pouring rain, and water was
In
like
classic Owen
splashing.
fashion.
Classic me fashion, yeah. And water was like splashing out of my shoes, so I didn't even have time to find EO. So I found EO in the race.
In the race, you're just catching up to him.
I just saw this very tall ginger with a beard, and I'm like, I wonder who that could be.
Hey, man, catching up to EO, that's the story of my life.
It may have happened out there on the 5K, but it will never, ever happen in Smash.
Nuh-uh. But I wanted to ask, because obviously you eventually get into Smash during college after being a part of the running community in high school and dabbling with it a little bit in college.
Yeah.
And the one key thing that really stood out to you when we first, saw you attend tournaments is your tag, Oscar Wilde Fan 69. What
I could go on
what
for
and
hours.
why and what and why and what and why. So, and obviously, okay, and that's how I felt when I first, heard about you. I was very confused, but obviously it's become a very iconic tag in this
Yeah.
community.
It won Best
And-
Tag at the awards one year.
It did, and
In
it
a
was very
time,
well
so-
deserved.
Thank you.
And you were going up against some stark competition like Deus
Oh,
Ex
yes.
Salat Machina,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is another goated tag.
It's brilliant.
Shout out to Deus Ex. But we've seen with not only your gamer tag but your in-game tag, like Morrissey, the
Yeah,
Smiths, referencing various albums and stuff like that. It seems to be very important to your gaming identity. So, like, what makes that such a key component of, I guess, your gaming identity?
Well, one thing, this is not just with Smash, but like my main thing in life is writing, so I'm constantly working on my writing. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing I focus on in my writing is I like to document like the lives of outsiders, which I think is really cool to me.
Yeah.
And so when I got into the Smash scene, I thought it'd be cool if I did something different that wasn't like the typical Smash tag. And since one of my main interests is like writing and that kind of thing, and since it's almost like the opposite interest is playing fighting games, where it's this very like
Yeah.
solitary thing that you do for prolonged periods of time, where it's like a fighting game is super high octane and you do it with other people.
Yeah, very competitive and social.
Exactly. I thought it'd be kind of funny if I turned that on its head a little bit.
Very true. I think that's really interesting. But what about the Morrissey stuff? You just like the Smiths a lot?
I just love their music, man. It's like my favorite
True.
thing ever. It was in the senior year of high school, and I was like, my one friend just showed me this new wave playlist he made, and there was this one like really interesting guitar song, and a guy had a weird voice, and I was like, I kind of mess with that. And he's like, that band's for weird people. Don't mess with it.
Can you hit Morrissey right now?
Two lovers entwine, pass me by, and heaven knows I'm miserable now.
There's definitely a little bit of Kermit in there for sure.
Oh,
but
there's a lot of
that's
Kermit,
crucial to you need like a 30% Kermit in a good Morrissey impression. So, but
For sure. It's
besides
tough, too,
that,
because like when he was in the Smiths, it was a lot less Kermity, but as he got older, it got more and more Kermit.
that's
so,
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess wanted to ask, like, what has your competitive journey been like? Because you've had a lot of ups and downs from having like kind of a slump in previous semesters to having big wins like against Krill Dog earlier this semester, wins against BJR.
Yeah.
So how has it felt being a part of this competitive journey?
Well, it's been really interesting, and that's for a couple of reasons. One was I didn't plan to get back into Smash in college at all. I was just
Really?
kind of done with it, yeah. Because I'd played in high school, and I'd like, at first I kind of put my toes and was like, whatever, I'll take this kind of seriously, and I practiced. But like the longer I played, the more and more sucked into it I got, and the more and more I realized how much just like mental energy it was taking me, how much time it was taking me. And then like I was getting to my senior year of high school, I kind of had a choice. Where do I want to put my energies and go with my entire life?
Oopsies, we got a
That's okay.
special
We
guest
just had a special
appearance.
guest, momentary special guest for like 2 seconds.
Let's keep that in. Let's
We're
keep that
keeping
in.
Yeah. Shout out to Lainey Smith.
Mm-hmm. Goat status.
But anyway. But anyway, I may have to close the door. All right, but
Did she know that her water bottle is outside, by the way?
I hope she does.
I
put it out
sure
there.
hope so. Anyways,
Anyway,
as we were saying, competitive journey.
as I was saying, I had to think for a second about what I wanted to do with my whole life, and I decided I was just going to focus all on writing, and I was just going to put all this Smash stuff behind me because it was getting me frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So it like a whole year goes by, but the whole time, every now and then the thought pops into my head, I kind of miss Smash Bros.
Smashy bros.
But I'm like, nah, that's stupid. Smash is a game for children and lame. But then, like, it's my first week of college, and I haven't made a single friend yet, and they're all playing Smash Bros. And my Pro Controller's just looking at me like the Green Goblin mask.
The Green Goblin basket, yep.
and it's just like, it's telling me, like, pull bomb, throw boomerang. Pull bomb, throw boomerang.
Yes, sir.
And so I did get back into the game reluctantly. And most of it was honestly my desire not to let Kenny beat me every time we played. Because I probably would have.
And that's gone over great. Sorry, Kenny beats me up too.
He has a
In
way
Smash.
of getting people. Yeah, not in real life yet, as far as we know. Allegedly, no allegations are being made against Kenny.
Oh.
But what happened was I was like, I hate the way this man beats me, and so I started getting a little more serious about the game, and it got to the point where I would play Smash like well into the night, and one day my roommate is just gone, and he doesn't come back.
Dude, I forgot about this story. This is so
This
fun.
story is so, oh my god. He literally just disappears one day, and I don't see him for 2 weeks. He's just not in the room. He doesn't text me, and I don't text him because I'm like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then one day I just see him around. He's like, yeah, I moved in with my girlfriend. I'm like, so why'd you want to leave? He said, well, it's the playing Smash Bros. And murmuring in your sleep.
One of those things is not like the other. I'm gonna tell you that much. But
Oh yeah, don't I know it? Don't I know it? But we're cool now, me and my roommate.
for sure. And now you're at a point where like you've really, after switching a lot of mains, doing your whole journey, it's been a really great experience. And now you're one of the best players here at TCNJ.
Yeah.
And for a while, it was kind of difficult, right? Because it was just kind of a mental difference. And you would historically do so much better at Rider University
my
tournaments
God.
that we came up with a term called Rider Owen, kind of like Game 4 Leo. And why I want to ask you, why did Rider Owen exist? And does he still exist to this day? Or is Owen just back to TCNJ dominance?
There's a somewhat interesting story behind Ryder Owen, I think, and it's a weird one. So, as I was going through the game, I was starting to think about, well, how much time do I really want to put into this, and how good do I really want to be? And it was around that time where I was genuinely thinking of just like hanging the game up altogether and just focusing on other things that I
Ooh.
read this book called The Inner Game of Tennis.
Yes, you've told a lot of people about this book. It seems like it's been like a life-changing book for you.
It's definitely sent me on a journey, I'll tell you that much, because The Inner Game of Tennis, on the surface, it's a book about sports psychology, but when you peel back a few layers, it's also a book about spirituality and about like letting go of the ego and letting your body and like your deeper self play the game, like whether that's tennis or Smash Bros. And so this book just kind of hoodwinked me into getting more interested in like how my mind works and like Eastern philosophy and all that kind of stuff.
So is Ryder Owen almost like a manifestation of that kind of spirituality, like coming to form in little bits and pieces?
Yeah,
And then right now you're at a point where you're just kind of ultimate Zen mode.
basically, yeah. If I had to put it that way, because like something about me at Ryder, it's like I would always like. It was always when I would go to Ryder when I would have just come from reading something about spirituality, and for some reason I never
Really?
did that before TCNJ. So as it happened, my mind was just so much more still when I played at Ryder.
How about that? Wow.
But at TCNJ, I also felt this because it was for PR, and as
More
soon as I went to
stakes.
TCNJ, yeah, exactly. As soon as I was at TCNJ, all that Zen stuff went straight out the window,
Try hard mode.
and yeah, it did worse. But yeah,
That's interesting. I don't know how much time we have left, but
we have about 8 minutes.
oh, 8 minutes?
We got plenty of time.
What? Wow. Okay. Dang, time flies when you're having fun interviewing people. And so I think that's been really cool that like you've been able to sort of tap into that, I guess, sort of positive mindset in the competitive scene. And I want to ask you about how that's translated to your rivalries, because honestly, you have a lot of back and forth rivalries.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull it up really quick on a Smashers app right here, and I'm gonna attempt to keep talking while I pull it up because I forgot to pull it up earlier.
Nah, it's okay.
But for example, me versus you, we are including your
my
previous Start GG tag, which was like just a one-off thing. We are 7-7.
Yeah.
It's about as even as it gets. We have an intense rivalry.
Yeah.
And you also have your rivalry versus BJR. You are, I believe, 5-7 against him. You have a rivalry versus Apokwa. You have, I mean, so many different rivalries. Also against Krill Dog as well. So, like, how does it feel having these rivalries? And, like, how do you overcome certain obstacles? And what would you say is your favorite rivalry?
Well, I think part of it definitely goes back to the relationship between the game and your state of mind, where I'm, as almost every player is, definitely so much of the reason that I play the game is for my ego. I like winning.
Yeah.
But it gets to a certain point when you realize that the pleasure you get from winning is just a temporary thing, and that losing kind of hurts other people even more than it gives you joy from winning.
Yeah.
It definitely starts to become less about simply just beating people.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I like about my rivalries is that they demand me to show up the best I can, I think, when I play this game, because one thing I really enjoy about Smash Ultimate is that it's an opportunity to just like forget everything else and just like train your mind to focus.
True.
And nothing really brings that out quite like a good rivalry.
Exactly.
And so, like, when I'm playing Krill Dog and BJR, it's like, I know there's, like, a chance I can beat them. There's no guarantee that I will. But if there's always a possibility if I just lock in.
Yep, if there's a will, there's a way. I mean, listen, man, you are 3-3 against Curl Dog. Another super back and forth rivalry.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's genuinely about as close as it can possibly get. And so I want to ask, I guess, what's been your favorite rivalry?
Definitely BJR. BJR.
Actually, you know what? We're going to make this impromptu. We're going to do a little activity right now.
Oh, my God.
Surprise, surprise. We're going to make our tier list of rivalries, of Oscar Wilde rivalries, based on how good they are. Starting with, obviously, BJR, as you mentioned.
Yeah. BJR, he's definitely S tier.
S tier, yes,
Because
sir.
what's funny is, like, he beat me, like, 6 times in a row. I beat him once at Queen. We went back and forth. Then I beat him, like, 4 more times in a row. And then he beat me just last week. But what's funny is, like, I was just so giddy about that win against BGR that I saw him outside of Smash one day, and the first thing I said to him was like, "Hey, Brian, you suck." And he was like, "Thanks."
And now Brian, every time he comes up to you, is like, "Screw you, Owen."
Yeah. I think that's
except
where that
screw is replaced with a different word.
Yeah, a less radio-friendly word.
Shout out to the FCC, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shares a couple letters in common.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to say. Guess what the F in FCC stands for?
How about Apokwa?
Apoka. Oh my God.
You do have a 3-win streak right now against him, but it has been many a close sets, including a 2-1 match to get yourself in the top 8 at a recent F Troop.
Yeah, I love fighting Apoka because it's, first of all, he plays like top tiers. I think he plays mostly honest top tiers.
Yeah.
So it's always fun playing Apoka. And he's just another one of those players that like locks in and really, really asks you to be present with the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and it's like, yeah, I think we also have somewhat similar play styles, Apoka and I. Like, he's definitely very slow and methodical. I'm slower and maybe a little less methodical, but definitely very slow. And so he really just takes the most out of my focus playing him, and I love it.
Yeah, so what are we thinking? Like A tier?
I think we're thinking A tier, yeah. We got a minute left, by the way.
And then finally, how about me?
Me? Oh, S tier.
S tier? Yes,
because
sir.
so much, between you and I, so much frustration and like rage and like, oh my God.
Between both of us.
so
It's
much
such a
salt.
highly emotional rivalry. We really get into each other's heads every time.
We make it
it's
personal.
Cinema.
It's crazy. Like a whole argument on air. Like that one
Iconic moment.
That one time at Ryder where I just charged down smash, just a Hail Mary, and I got the 2-frame against your teleport, and it killed you at 40.
Oh my God. And that is going to do that for this segment. Thank you so much, Owen, for the interview. No, that was awesome. Thank you so much.
That was great.
Yeah, that was great. But coming
I thought you
up.
were being serious. Like, wait, we got a minute left.
No, I think we're going to wrap this up. Am I correct? Or...
No, yeah, that sounds about right.
Mm-hmm.
So coming up, I've got my interview with you, where I'm gonna ask you questions. And then after that, we got Scarlet Classic, we got Bronx Barrel Blast, we have another story from the incredible saga that is the tale of James Scott. They should make this into a Lego game already, because, oh my God, I am so invested. And we will see you very, very soon. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're enjoying the show. Real quick, before we get back into it, if you're interested in following the host on Twitter, you can find me at O_Buck_King, and you can find Casey at CaseyNoah. And if you'd like to listen to the show after it airs, you can find the YouTube link on my Twitter. That's O_Buck_King. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get back into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to our low-key episode of the Weekly Smash Rap for this week. We just got done doing an interview with me, your very own host, and now we're going to move it to our other host, Casey, where I'm going to ask them questions.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this fine night?
It's been good. I've been chilling. We're doing some homework, and I got to do some more, but I'm going to get it done eventually. Trust.
That's the college life. That's what I tell myself right before I choose not to do my homework.
I will say, though, being a sociology major is like, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's definitely less class work. Like, there are fewer sociology classes you need to take in order to get the major. So I am kind of differing in other ventures. So I'm going to like minor in economics next year. I just knocked out the park the entire next year. So
let's go. So you got the minor like set in stone?
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna really try.
No, that's good. You
I
can
also
go
have
in a lot
a
of directions.
women's gender sexuality studies, as well, minor, which I believe I'll be able to complete this semester. So yeah,
Well, that's right on. Moving now to Smash.
yeah, that had nothing to do with Smash whatsoever.
Just, icebreaker for ice that's been broken since we got in here.
Mm-hmm.
But my first question to you is, as you asked me, it's always very interesting to know because a lot of the ways we know each other is strictly through Smash, like everybody in the scene. And so it's kind of like pulling off the mask a little bit, and it's like uncovering a mystery when you see what someone's life was like before they got into Smash Ultimate. Because it's almost like it takes a very particular kind of person, I think, to be that interested in fighting games.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the times it's like fighting game players, they only get to bring out certain traits of themselves while they're in the fighting game scene, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're like completely different people, and sometimes not. So what
Yeah.
I'd like to know is, what was your life like before you got into Smash Ultimate?
Before I got into Smash Bros, I was eating spaghetti and meatballs as a first grader. No, Smash Smash has been like my entire life ever since I first played Brawl when I was like 7, 8 years old, playing Game of Watch and Rob against my brother who somehow knew that Meta Knight was broken. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan of Smash Bros forever. And I suppose you can say in terms of the competitive scene, I started to get into it when I was like 13 years old, when Smash Ultimate came out. And, I'm learning about the competitive scene. I'm watching GR Smash clips. I'm watching the Smash doc.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
The original Smash Brothers doc?
Yes, the original. It's a classic, I think. I haven't watched it since, but I remember really enjoying it. And I remember like what really solidified the fact that I love Super Smash Bros. It was the night of the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl in 2019. This is the New England Patriots playing against the Los Angeles Rams. This is February 3rd. And I was really into football before that. I played high school football for a year. I played middle school football for 2 years. I was really into football, and I was really excited for this event. The Super Bowl sucked. The game was boring. Maroon 5 was a halftime show, and it was
God.
it was god awful.
Bleeding
in my
out
opinion.
of my ears.
And I was just miserable. But at the same night, we had Genesis 6 going on, and we had Axe making the miracle run to second place in grand finals against Hungrybox. And I could not care less about the Super Bowl, even though I love football so much. I was glued to my old 2010 iPad screen, watching Twitch at 20 frames per second, watching Axe go to town against these amazing players. I believe did he beat Mango? I think he might have. Actually, no, I think that was when that was the same Genesis when Mango got upset by Magi in pools. There's a lot of random memories, but nevertheless, I remember watching that and being like, dang, Melee is so, so awesome. And then Ultimate was next up, and I was staying up till like 3 a.m., sneaking my iPad in, trying to watch this so I don't get caught, staying up too late before Monday class.
Of course.
And I just remember Void making this incredible run, and I was rooting for him so hard. The underdog story, and he ends up losing in grand finals. Gets reset against MK Leon, that ends up losing to the Lucina, and I was absolutely heartbroken. It sucked. I felt terrible, and that's when I knew that I loved competitive Smash. That's when I knew I'm gonna ride or die about competitive Smash. So I watched for a while. And I did eventually take a break, during COVID era of watching and stuff. I never really felt like going to tournaments because I just had no idea how to really, and I never I guess bothered trying, which I feel like I should have.
It was a whole mess during COVID. I had to get my Vax card and everything. I literally got my Vax card.
I can't believe it.
I know. I had to go to I got my Vax card just to go to Rowan.
Dude,
anyway.
I still remember when I was going to Indiana, I had to wait an hour and a half in line to get my COVID test so that I could get cleared to go fly to Indiana for my aunt's wedding.
Wow.
It was a different time. It was a different time, but it's cool seeing where we are now. And eventually, during the summer, funny story. and this is a very long-winded answer, I acknowledge.
No, it's a great answer.
Summer 2022, after I graduated from high school, I was going to get a job. I am in a very fortunate financial position, so I don't need the money. It's more about like the experience, at least for me. Obviously, that's not the case for everyone, and I acknowledge that I have a very fortunate upbringing, and I was thinking like, oh, maybe I go like the Home Depot maybe or something like that. Like I didn't really have that many ideas of like what I wanted to do in terms of a job, and I didn't end up getting that Home Depot job, and I was really sad. And I remember like crying to my mom, like I don't know what to do with my life during this summer before college starts, and like I'm gonna have all my free time sucked away from me, which ended up not being true. But I was like, why not I go to a Smash tournament? And so I went to Wave Bounce 4, which was a tournament hosted inside of a trampoline park back in July 9th, 2022.
I don't remember Wave Bounce. Is this just a local or is this like a regional?
This was like a seasonal tournament. It was hosted by the same people that made Kingdom, and Kingdom is unfortunately disbanded about a year ago. But I remember this tournament like it was yesterday. I remember the dodgeball tournament we had after the tournament. I remember getting destroyed by Justin Byleth. This was while he was still like on the come up and he wasn't like a PR level talent yet.
That's
he was,
a
like,
really funny
there.
memory.
But I remember during this tournament he took a set off Beady Bean, and that was a pretty good upset. And I remember, dude, meeting all these amazing people that I am extremely fortunate to say that I am still friends to this day. You know, people like, again, Justin Byleth, Beady Bean, Delta Force. I mean, Syrup was at this tournament.
Oh my God. How old was Syrup, do you think?
Probably like 15, 14. He was insanely young. And then like there's Hydra, you know, Teju's. I mean, so many incredible people. I'm probably missing some people here, but I got to meet so many incredible people, and it really encouraged me to stay involved in the community. I remember bringing two of my friends as well.
Yeah.
And one of them actually being Deus Ex La Machina.
Oh.
Because me and him are high school friends.
I actually didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's some lore. Also, you know what's crazy about this tournament? Apple Reviewer went 0-2.
Isn't he NJPR right now?
He was like number 4 at one point.
Oh my God.
It's crazy how far all these people have come, and it's really great to see. So ever since then, I fell in love with the game. I love going to different places to celebrate this community and just being a positive member and just, you know, bringing good vibes. So yeah, that was very long-winded. I don't know how much time. I don't know how long that was.
No, we got about 9 minutes left. But that was a great
bro,
answer.
that was half the interview for the first question.
No, it's okay.
Oh my God,
you answered a lot of the questions.
I am
in the
a
process.
yapper. Oh my goodness.
There's nothing wrong with yapping, you know.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that answer, though.
A lot of great figures in history were good yappers, you know. Cicero was a good yapper.
True.
They call it the gift of the gab, but okay, so you get to TCNJ.
We get to TCNJ.
I'm just looking for random figures of speech.
Yes. Let's go. All right,
Okay,
let's go. Speed up the interview.
TCNJ. You're at TCNJ and you get involved with Lions Gaming.
Yes.
What was that like? Because first of all, I know my experience with TCNJ, even with Kenny, was a little threatening because I was like a total outsider in the scene. But did you know anybody in the TCNJ scene when you got into it?
Nope. I didn't even know that TCNJ was a Smash school. I got so lucky that TCNJ ended up being a Smash school. I could have been, and this is not a stray to the University of Vermont. I love the University of Vermont. Awesome place. I have a friend that goes there. I could have been to the University of Vermont paying like $40K a year tuition with a dead Smash scene in there. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, number one in the Vermont State University PR by a huge margin.
I would have loved to farm, but it would have been tournaments of like 4 or 5 people. Again, no diss to University of Vermont, though. It's a great university.
I mean, the state is like mountains and stuff.
But what I'm saying is that I got very lucky with my circumstances, and I just really deeply appreciate the way that this community has embraced me. Like, there's a lot of things, but it's like I remember like, they didn't start doing pronoun overlays on the UI until I came in, and I made the suggestion like, hey, because I'm non-binary, like I would like for there to be like a pronoun display on the UI, and they ended up implementing it, and it's been there ever since, and it's something I'm incredibly grateful for, and I don't take it for granted whatsoever. That is such a cool thing. It shows how accepting and how amazing of a community TCNJ is.
That's awesome. It's nice you got to bring a bit of positive change to TCNJ too, and while you just got into that scene, which is really nice. And what I also want to ask you now is, so you've made a lot of friends in the scene, but you've also had some rivalries. And there's one rivalry in particular. A certain man who's in the last couple episodes been mentioned a lot.
Who could
Brian
possibly
J.R.
be? Brian J.R. BJR. He was my biggest rival. He's been my biggest rival. It was a pretty one-sided rivalry for a while, admittedly. But freshman year, we were fighting for that number 5 spot on the PR.
Yeah.
And D Troop number 5, we ended up playing each other on stream, and it was basically for number 5 on PR. It had really big implications. And I lost in like this game 3 heartbreaker. And I was so devastated that like 3 days later, I write a twit longer about how I'm retiring. And it still is one of the stupidest things I've ever done, and something that I kind of regret, but it's funny to look back on and laugh about. I guess it kind of was a very humbling moment for me.
Yeah.
You know, where like this progress really is nonlinear. It's about as nonlinear as it gets. I had real struggles competitively where like I had like a 10 tournament streak where I went 0-2 and didn't even take a single game. Like I was genuinely like statistically one of the worst players in New Jersey for a long time. And
was this just at TCNJ tournaments too, or is this like at other events?
No, it was like locals and stuff.
I see.
And at TCNJ, like it was just, you know, it was tough seeing like it felt like other competition were passing by me, even though I was like working so hard, going to so many locals. But then I realized that like, you know, we're all, you know, human beings with our own aspirations, our own work ethic. And I kind of realized just how important this community is to me. And the competition, again, like the struggle is beautiful. I talked about it on the James Scott episode where it's like having that mentality of like learning after losses and embracing the struggle is like been really important for me. So I feel really stupid for retiring back in 2023. That was almost like 2 years ago now. That's crazy. But
you didn't.
I didn't, and I regret it, but I also don't. So funny how things kind of turn out.
And so what do you think specifically then got you back into that? Just like the community, you think?
I couldn't put down the cup. Next question.
Well, there you go. Casey could not put down the cup.
I could not, and that's pretty much it. I just like I enjoyed competing too much. I enjoyed the community too much. That's really it.
But you definitely, and you've been talking about this lately, I think over time you've definitely developed this healthier mentality where you've definitely learned to appreciate losses.
Yeah, no, it's all part of like the competitor's experience, the human experience. It's overcoming those things has been really beautiful. Like even just really small things like, oh, now I can take a game off of these players. Like I still can't beat TFJ, but I can take a game off him now, you know, and that feels amazing. You know, so it's just little itty bitty steps, and embracing that process has been so huge for me.
And so a brief side tangent. You also happen to, at tournaments, you wear a lot of Porter Robinson gear. In fact, are you wearing a Porter Robinson shirt right now?
So this shirt right here, I'm going to stand up so that the people watching this on YouTube can see, is a shirt that says, "Music is so cool." And then someone replies, "Yes, I also like it." There's this Porter Robinson fan account called What Porter Wore, where they ID all of the outfits that Porter Robinson wears out in public or like at shows and stuff. And at the Philly show that I went to back in September, he was wearing this shirt, and I thought it looked so unbelievably swag. Specifically swag, because we're bringing 2000s back.
I think it's pretty swag.
It's so unbelievably swag, and it got ID'd, and I was like, this is the first time Porter Robinson's worn something that's not $1 billion, so I'm going to wear it. And I love wearing my little Porter Robinson merch because I like his music and I like his merchandise. And His music's really cool. I also, just kind of side tangent, I
okay.
love listening to music. I could make a whole podcast where I just talk about music, really. But I think we'll save that for the No Holds Barred podcast, which
Oh yeah,
we'll get to eventually.
Oh yeah, and we'll announce it on this show too, I think. But anyway, and so having come from a place where you're just a kid under his blanket watching GR Smash and things, and coming all this way to changing the Smash scene for the better at TCNJ.
I appreciate it, man.
And just getting and just learning to appreciate the game in these different ways, not just like the competitive aspect itself, but people. I want to know, where do you see your future with this game?
I don't know. Honestly, like it's not really a secret that I don't really pop out to as many locals anymore. Mainly just because I have a lot of other interests. I have other like things to do, whether it's taking care of family or like, working in the future. I'm trying to apply to an internship and stuff like that. I haven't been going to as many locals lately, but I still want to keep in touch with my friends that I've made. And that's kind of the ultimate goal for me, is not about being the best player or even being a PR player like at TCNJ, period. I could be an 0-2 at TCNJ, but I still got my friends, I still have my community, and I still have my people that, I very deeply love and cherish. And I cannot express just how grateful I am for the community, for the people that support me, for the people that I support. It's a beautiful thing that we've built here at TCNJ, and it's going to continue to thrive for many years to come.
And there we go. That was very, very well said. And that's just about going to do it for this segment. Coming up, we're going to have Scarlet Classic 10, and then we're going to have Bronc's Barrel Blast. And so we will be right back. What's going on, everybody? I hope you're enjoying the show. Real quick, before I get back into it, I'd like to give you some events we have coming up. And first up, this Friday in room 102 in the business building will be the very last F-Troop tournament of the semester. That's going to start at 5 p.m. It's also going to have Street Fighter, Ultimate, and a side bracket. And we also have on May 10th, TCNJ's King. We have Zamba, who's projected to come. And with that, let's get back into the show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Weekly Smash Wrap. We just got done interviewing Casey, and now we're going to move on to Scarlet Classic 10. But right before we do that, we're going to answer one last question for ourselves from both of us, and that is, Casey, would you like to take it away?
Yes. Why did we start this pod? Why does this pod exist?
Profound question. We forgot to ask each other a question relating to that in our individual interview segments.
We both asked. We both in our notes had the question for each other, and then just forgot to ask each other. So, in classic Weekly Smash Wrap fashion,
oh yes,
we had a little bit of a flub there,
a little bungling,
and that is what makes this show beautiful. So, you want to tell me about what inspired you to start the show?
Well, so when I got to TCNJ, I've been reading a lot of Charles Bukowski and a little bit of Ernest Hemingway. And fun fact about Hemingway is that he started out as a journalist. I know.
Okay.
We're getting literary.
History.
And so that gave me kind of like an interest in like not even like being a journalist, but like journalistic stuff, like documenting underground scenes.
For sure.
And when I got into Smash, I was like, this is it. This is like this just niche, but like so popular underground little world that's happening. Whenever I tell people about it, they know nothing about it, but they're so interested. They're like, what? You're telling me they have $10,000 tournaments in the student center? They're like, what? They do this every week? They lug setups from CRTs?
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
nah, it's the old Smash game that they like. You know what I'm saying?
They don't like the new stuff. They retro like that. But hey, but in any case, I thought it would be very cool if we could document all the crazy stuff that goes on in the local underground scene somehow. And then I got really interested in music, and I wanted to be part of TCNJ Radio. They needed a slot for Discourse Hour, so I'm like, hey, I got you.
Yes, sir. And listen, you literally just messaged me on the whim, being like, hey, do you want to like be a part of the show? I thought I was just going to be on for one episode.
Oh, really?
I thought I was just going to be the guest for episode 1, and it would be a solo show. And then I realized, like, after episode 1, we started talking about it, and like we saw how many people were loving it. Yeah, and then you told me, oh yeah, you're actually the co-host. And I'm like, oh, I am. Cool.
Did I not make that clear? Because fun fact,
I feel like you did. It was my fault. I didn't interpret it correctly. But yeah, I'm part of this show, and it's been awesome. I love how many people it's brought together. So
Because what's funny is like when I filled out the form to do this show, it said co-host required. And so
Oh,
I
okay.
definitely needed a co-host, but like even without that, like my first thought was you. Like you were definitely the person for this, because like
yeah, I'm the one who yaps the most.
well, if you want to go there, but yeah, I mean yes, but you also have like you're equally interested in the game and the community, and I thought that was definitely very interesting.
And like the commentary experience and stuff like
and
that.
yeah, commentating. You did a bunch of fusions.
Yeah, for sure. So I kind of decided to join on a whim, and then I didn't realize it would be as awesome as it ended up being. So I'm incredibly grateful for this whole experience, man. And
Well,
hopefully we have a season 2. But
I hope so. I'm glad I'm glad you agreed to do this, because I'm telling you, I could not fill a whole hour by myself. I'll tell you that.
I could though. I'd be yapping like crazy.
And with that, we're gonna move on to a big tournament that happened, a regional tournament.
Let's
that just
actually
happened.
talk about Smash.
Yeah, finally. And that tournament we're gonna talk about
Is Bronx Barrel Blast 11.
That's right. And it was that Bronx Barrel Blast, that tweak, 6-0 James Scott. Now we're playing. We're talking about Scarlet Classic 10.
Nelson Swan Song, man. Poncho's Swan Song, his last tournament as the head TO for Rider University.
I thought we were
was
talking about
awesome.
Scarlet Classic.
Oh, are we talking about
No,
Scarlet Classic?
we're talking about Bronx. We're moving to Bronx.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's talk about Bronx real quick. I mean, is there anything you want to go over? I can talk about my run.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, so
there are definitely a couple interesting things. But go ahead.
yeah, there's the crew battle. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, TCNJ versus Ryder plus Sentinel crew battle. Dude, Apokwa played like the best game of his life against Sentinel. He was going ballistic, just was winning neutral every single time, like 95% neutral win rate.
It was like a 2-stock win.
Yeah, like 2-stock early percent. It was wild. And like me, Brian, you, like we're all going crazy. It was awesome. So I love seeing AJ do well. He destroyed me round 1 as well at the tournament. And I was like, dang, this is not Apokwa. This is like MKLeo or something.
I heard you say that, and I thought it was so funny, because it was true. He was playing out of his mind that day.
Yeah, but did you end up playing him?
I did win. For some reason, I locked in that set. But
Ryder Owens back.
Close.
Ryder Owens back.
I
Clash of the Ryder players.
Yeah. I had to get back on my throne.
Mm-hmm. It was a fun crew battle, though. I didn't have to do much, and you had to do nothing because we won like 4-0. I played Poncho. It was a good match. I was getting mad at Sentinel because of his ridiculous commentary, but it was funny, so it's all good. We patched it up, and we're chilling.
Do you remember what he was talking about?
I can't say it on the pod. Literally what he said on the mic, I cannot say on the pod.
Well, that's that.
Love
Shout
you,
out
FCC.
But we also had TCNJ Tempo beat Ryder Tempo, but then and also beat Users Logan. But
Game
did
3.
lose to Game 3.
He's been going Greninja and Ken, and he went Greninja against TFJ and took him the last stock in the crew battle.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, and he also took a game off Kajasa. His Greninjas in this Ken are like catching up slowly but steadily to his Diddy Kong, which is nice to see.
I don't think he liked Diddy Kong. I think that was just a tier pick for him.
Yeah.
I think he genuinely likes Greninja, because Greninja, I think, suits his playstyle too.
Yeah, and then it was great. Awesome tournament. Sentinel wins, and we go and have the craziest Applebee's dinner maybe of all time.
And
if you know, you know. Wait, do you know about the?
No, can you enlighten me?
Dude, I'll tell you after the pod because it's so funny. But listen, if you know, I'm just kind of have to say, if you know, you know. Sorry to disappoint any of the viewers, but what happens at Applebee's stays at Applebee's. You know what I'm saying? But
this is worse than Vaughn's Tiger.
Listen, we have Bronx Barrel Blast being a great tournament, and we also had Scarlet Classic 10.
That's right. And if we pull that up here, first of all, pools. Wait,
Tark was here?
Wait, before we get to pools, we have something else to talk about.
What?
The pre-locals.
Oh my goodness, dude! My glorious king, the GOAT, the MKLeo Slayer, James Scott got a set win.
Absolute cinema. That's,
Great round of applause from 2 people.
I mean, hey, you know what? It may have been confined to this room with 2 people, but the enthusiasm,
Heard around the world.
that's what I'm saying. It was, let's see what the game count
He
too
beat
was.
Lash in the game 3 set. Lash was a Jigglypuff player. So huge dub for James Scott. Big shouts to him.
What's funny is after the Royal Stampede, he made a salt tweet. A salt tweet.
Yeah,
He
I
said,
remember we talked about it on the pod.
he was like, I'm tired of losing at these tournaments. Time to not touch grass for like a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then his very next tweet was, just played this game for 5 hours. No sunlight.
What a try hard. I love him.
Dude, I know. It was so funny. And then there we go. It's paying
And
off.
then James Scott ended up playing the GOAT Tweak at Scarlet Classic, and that ended up being a fun set. Ended up being on stream. He made a YouTube video about it earlier today. If
Which
you guys
I still need to watch.
Yeah, you guys gotta watch that. And yeah, man, it was great. But Scarlet Classic ended up having some crazy runs and some crazy upsets.
That's true. First of all, real quick, I just want to say that the person James lost to at the pre-local was a Steve named A Billion Limes.
Elite tag.
Absolute cinema. But then we also have, he did lose 2-1 to Vitz. And Vitz is, I feel like you were going to say something about Vitz.
Vitz is really good. Is A Billion Lines Vitz?
No.
No.
Vitz is in Scarlet Classic.
I'm tripping.
Yeah, he beat James losers round 1. And then he also beat Noodle 2-1.
Yeah, he did. That was a big upset. Noodle ends up getting 65th, which is kind of wild.
It's a crazy tournament for Noodle because at Royal, he got like 4th, I think.
Yeah, he got 4th to beat Pharaoh. That's the beauty of Noodle, is that you never know what can happen in terms of results.
You just never know if you're going to have a Noodle moment.
Dang, James Scott took the same amount of games as Noodle off of it.
Wow.
That's wild.
We have to have a 1st to 10 between them.
10-0, James Scott.
That's what I'm saying. You remember that fake PR graphic for April Fools?
Goated.
Oh my God, he's going to be number 1. But anyway, James Scott aside, Tweak obviously got into top 32. And then if we go to top 8, let's see.
We had some interesting stuff happening. I mean, like Tweak and in winners quarters had to go up against the Buzz, which is interesting that they would play in winners quarters of this regional. But the Buzz ends up getting the 3-0 victory. Tweak able to claw his way in the top 8 after getting a Game 5 win against Phantom and a Game 4 win over Tilde, but loses to Jackal.
Yeah.
Loses semis.
My
so.
glorious king.
He was trying to play DK, and it went to Game 5. It was a crazy set. Y'all got to watch that set.
What was Tweak doing?
He was cooking, I guess, because he took him to Game 5.
Still, though, shout out to Jackal. A Tweak win is a Tweak win.
Yes, sir. And we also had some really good SPR performances, especially like in this top 16 area, where we had Haven doing really well. Getting wins on Squid Plumber and Delta Force. My boy Smash Bros, Elite Tag, got wins over Weezer. An Olimar player named Ice Water 5:30 to 5:49 a.m.
Okay, you know what? No. Real quick, I need to dispel the myth. Who is Ice Water? What are the numbers?
5:30 to 5:49 a.m.
5:30 to 5. Do you know anything about this guy?
I mean, they have a 72% win rate.
I've just seen like pictures of them. Just like I'm scrolling through Twitter, a graphic after graphic. Ice water. I need to know. It's driving me insane. Actually, I'm like drawing like shapes and stuff and like pasting them to my wall. I'm like rocking back and forth, pulling out my hair. Who is Ice Water? 5:30 to 5:49 a.m.
Ice Water. We will never, ever know. But he also beat G Extreme as well, which was a nice win. Yeah.
Actually, wait. Do you think Ice Water 5:30 5:49 would want to come on the podcast?
Hey.
Unmask himself?
We'll see.
Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm so tired right now. I was just doing so much homework. But listen, Scarlet Classic ended up being a really fun tournament. Won by Zamba, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was really cool, like seeing him get the game. I guess technically game 10 win against Syrup. 3-2 in winners finals, 3-2 in grands. I mean, big moment for Zamba to sort of overcome one of the just like hottest streak players in the world in Syrup.
Yeah, that's a huge win. I wonder if there's something going on with Syrup where it's like now that he's in such like a good position, if the nerves are getting to him a little bit. Because so far,
I mean,
think,
he only got second.
Yeah, I know. But like, I'm wondering because this is his only like second place finish in a while, though, right?
Is that so?
I think it is. I don't.
He
think...
got second at Encore, where I think he just, he lost the light,
yeah.
which makes sense.
And beautiful thing about Tri-State is you can be the best player in North America and still lose your local.
Exactly. I mean, he literally got third at Battle of BC7.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then later goes to get second at Arch Anime, losing to Zamba twice. It's wild.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I feel like the Rob Steve matchup is definitely closer to even than most Steve matchups for sure.
Probably. I mean, Rob is big.
Oh, that's true.
And he got big moves and big combos.
But according to JD, being big makes him bad.
Exactly. And that is why Rob is bottom 5. Woo!
Shout out to Rob apologists.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the Scarlet Classic tournament. Great event. Shout out to the people who hosted it. Shout out to James Scott for the video about it. And with the time we have left, about 4 minutes, I want to turn to a different topic, and that is the future of Smash Ultimate and just what your thoughts are. Because lately on Twitter, I did see a little bit of buzz about it, how people are complaining. I retweeted a thing from Beady Bean. He said that we need more like monthly and local events, and we don't need a major every weekend.
Oh, yeah, I saw this. And this is kind of facts. Like, I've been very, like, anti-esports pilled in my discourse regarding the Smash community. Nothing, obviously, against, like, esports in general. Like, I love esports, and I love the esports aspect in Smash when properly applied. But I really love, I mean, again, like, I love the grassroots community, really bringing people together and, like, forming that long-term bond between several people in this community. So I think as a result of that, like, I think focusing on grassroots organizations and having these monthly, like, having consistent tournaments with consistent turnout and with a consistent social environment as well, and an accepting social environment, I think that is more important than having like a $2 bajillion in Nelson coin event.
Yeah, for sure. Because you know what another thing is? It's like having like strong local scenes, I think lets people feel connected to top players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I mean, look at you last week.
My $5.
Mm-hmm. Getting it back, baby.
That's about as connected as you can get.
Uh-huh. The faded 5.
It's not even in my wallet. Like, I'm genuinely not going to spend it. It's in my drawer. I just wanted
to keep it for good luck.
I just wanted it as like a souvenir.
You're going to resell it for like $100 like 5 years from now.
When Jackal becomes the best player in the world, I'm going to sell it for
These are the $5 that Jackal gets.
I'm going to sell it for 0.0000001 Nelson coin, which is going to be worth $100 trillion.
Yep. Only going up from there, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like you should hold on to it.
I definitely, you know, in SpongeBob when Mr. Crab frames his first dollar.
Yep.
And like in SpongeBob gets like a little bit of paint on it.
Yeah.
Dude, I swear to God.
Someone's gonna get paint.
I'm cracking my knuckles.
Someone's gonna get grease from the chicken tenders at T-Dubs on your Jackal dollars, on your Jackal coin.
That title for this episode is Jackal launching a meme coin.
That would be a terrible title.
But that would be like grounds for defamation.
Yes.
Lawsuits.
Anyways, I do think at the end of the day, focusing on the community should be the top priority for organizations. That's
what I think too. Because like if people feel like the top echelon is just like so far from them, even if sometimes it's just an illusion, but I feel like if people
feel that way,
exactly, like they feel like they can have the resources they need to improve, and part of that is definitely top players, I think. And also I think it's another thing we talk about sometimes where it's like how good you are at the game determines who you can talk to in the Smash Ultimate scene.
Yeah,
that's obviously sort of true. I don't think there's any denying that. But at the same time, I think definitely like seeing top players at your locals makes that less of a thing, 100%.
Yeah.
And with that, that's just about going to do it for today's episode. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you all next week. Open your mind.